Picture this: 40 Ghanaian kids, a lean-to shelter behind a church in a small town in northern Ghana, stinking hot, in my words, not theirs, terracotta dust everywhere, and my 13-year-old daughter sliding into that dust, playing duck, duck, goose. Everyone's sweaty, everyone's laughing. Nobody even shares the language with us, but nobody cares. That is socialization. And it looked nothing like a school hallway. Welcome back. I'm Teresa Wiedrick. I'm a homeschool life coach, a graduated homeschool mom of 4, and the author of Homeschool Mama Self-Care, Nurturing the Nurturer. My work focuses inward on the woman running the homeschool, not just the homeschool itself. Because most homeschool overwhelm has nothing to do with the curriculum. It has everything to do with what's happening inside the mom. This is stop 5 of the Confident Homeschool Roadmap. Links to the previous stops are found below. So let's get into it. If you have told anyone you're homeschooling or even thinking about it, you've already heard this question. But what about socialization? It comes from well-meaning family members, from friends, from the pediatrician's waiting room, from strangers in the grocery store who notice your kids aren't in school on a Tuesday. And I want to help you answer it, not with a rehearsed comeback, not in a defensive way, but from a place of genuine confidence, because you've thought through this. And after this stop, you'll have the words. Let me tell you about the orphanage. So we were 3 weeks into our time in Eloregu, northern Ghana. My husband was volunteering at a hospital. And one afternoon we walked half an hour in October heat, sweaty and slow, to a lean-to shelter behind the Assembly of God Church. It was an after-school program for children without parents. Some lived with an auntie, some with a grandmother, some with a relative who'd taken them in. There were about 40 kids ranging from teeny tiny to teenage. And they gathered there Tuesdays through Fridays and 3 hours on Saturday, after school typically, to play card games or to play run games or just to be together. Elizabeth was the girl that ran the program. She was welcoming to us and clearly was loved by every kiddo there. When we arrived, the kids were playing a game called China Wall. Do you know it? Then someone suggested Duck, Duck, Goose. There were 40 kids, 40, in terracotta dust on the ground. I mean, our feet were red when we got back home. My 13-year-old, who would not have been caught dead playing Duck, Duck, Goose at home, was now sliding into the dust with the rest of them. May childhood never end. I brought the Uno deck from the hospital compound. Their version was so yellowed and moist that the cards ripped when you touched them. We played with 4 cards each. I put down a +2 card, and it disintegrated in my hands. Everyone thought that was hilarious. And then one of the kids asked if I would show them math. So on a plastic table under that shelter, using a piece of chalk, I taught place value. Matthew sees place value street, because that's where I learned place value. I didn't really learn it when I was in grade 2. I remember sitting with a teacher in grade 2 and trying to understand long subtraction and not understanding why we had 9s and 0s. Well, it was Steve Demi from Matthew C. that taught me place value. So here I am in the African sun teaching kids place value. There's something I thought I would never do. Here's what I want you to notice about that afternoon. Nobody planned any of this. There wasn't a curriculum or a lesson plan or learning outcomes, no social skills worksheet, just 40 kids and my 4 and a piece of chalk and an afternoon in the dust. And yet my kids were happy and learning in a deep way. An ordinary workbook would never cover that you can just be with new people and have fun, even if you don't speak the same language. That attire is enough if you have something to roll with it. That kids on the other side of the world want the same things that my kids did. To play, to be seen, to belong. That these kids are living different lives maybe, but they're just like my kids. That is socialization in its truest, most human form. Rachel Gathercole, in her book, The Well-Adjusted Child, The Social Benefits of Homeschooling, makes a distinction I find clarifying every time I share it. Socialization and social opportunity are not the same thing. Social opportunities abound for homeschooled kids. Co-ops and music lessons and sports teams and part-time jobs and community programs and church groups and neighborhood kids and, yes, the wider world. They often have more of these than their classroom-bound peers simply because they have more time and more flexibility. But socialization, the deeper thing, is about something different. It's about learning to be a person in the world, learning empathy, patience, conflict resolution, how to show up for people who are different from you, how to be kind when you're tired, how to listen when you'd rather talk. And that learning does not require a school building. In fact, the most powerful socialization happens not in a room full of same-aged peers, but in real life, in family, in community, in the kinds of encounters that challenge what a child thought they knew about the world. Here's something worth naming. When kids spend their days in school, their primary social environment is a room full of kids their own age, managed by an adult whose job is to keep them quiet and focused on instruction. They eat lunch together for 15 minutes. They play for half an hour. In the classroom, they face forward, address the teacher by a formal name. That social structure does not repeat anywhere in adult life. Not one workplace, not one community, not one family looks like that. Not even post-secondary school adheres to those rules. What does repeat in adult life is exactly what your homeschool child is practicing. Navigating relationships with people of different ages, different backgrounds, different perspectives, having real conversations, resolving real conflict, showing up for people they love and for strangers who need them. Gordon Neufeld's work on attachment theory is worth noting here. When kids spend the majority of their time oriented toward their peers rather than toward the adults in their lives, they begin to look to those peers for everything. What to wear, how to think, who to be, whether they're valuable. That's not a healthy social structure. That's peer dependency. Your child is looking to you, to your family, to a wider community. That is the foundation. So though I am so over this question after answering it for more than 20 years, I can confidently assert a home education, which is almost always a community-based education, is a remarkable place to teach your kids people skills. There is an inborn socialization training inside the confines of your home anytime you have more than one member. But if you have more than one child in your homeschool, you are running the most intensive social skills program available anywhere. Homeschool parents know this well. Siblings in a homeschool home are in a continuous contact. They're learning not to bicker, or at least learning to bicker better. They're learning to listen to each other's perspectives, to share their feelings, to assert their needs, to lead, to follow. Some days it feels like no matter how many times you redirect them, they resort to the full transcript of who said what to whom. Oh, joy. And you get to hear every single word. But they're learning. So the most important social skill there is how to be in relationship with another person over the long haul, and you are giving them that training. There is no curriculum that teaches that better than a sibling. But one thing I will acknowledge about this discussion, homeschool socialization does not happen automatically the way school socialization does. In a school, proximity creates the opportunity. As a homeschool family, you have to build it intentionally. In a school, you drop your kids off in the morning, then you pick them up in the afternoon. Or you have certain meetings that you need to attend, or certain activities or events you need to attend. That's the proximity that creates the opportunity. But as a homeschool family, you have to create that. But I would tell you, that's the gift in this, because you get to choose who you include. You can have co-ops and community classes and sports teams and youth groups and neighborhood friendships, service opportunities, mentorships, multi-generational relationships with grandparents or elders, with the woman at the post office who always remembers your kids' names. That village does not look like a school's version of socialization, but it can be richer, more intentional, and definitely more deeply connected. And I'll say this, the village is for you too, Mom. Find other homeschool moms. You are going to need people who get you. FYI, I've got one called the Confident Homeschool Mom Collective. It's here to offer authentic connection and support with women who listen, who share the real stuff, who celebrate each other's wins. Michelle said it was a game changer for her homeschool mom life. If you're curious, check the link below. I have something for you before we get to stop 6. If you haven't already signed up for the 7-day Confident Homeschool Mom Roadmap, I've created something for you to boost your confidence in your year 1, and it's totally free. Here's what I want you to do with it. On day 5, you'll find a reflection prompt specifically about connection. I want you to sit with 2 questions. Who is my child already connecting with? And am I counting that in my concept of, does my child get socialized? Perhaps you want to address a challenge between them and their sibling, or create an approach to address bickering, or an approach to address conflict, or maybe helping each other recognize that you need to show kindness to one another in a specific way. Maybe you want to sign up for an activity this month, but I'm going to guess likely not, because most homeschool moms have so many extracurriculars that they know exactly what it means when I say, you're a homeschool mom, but are you ever home? If you haven't yet signed up for the 7-day Confident Homeschool Roadmap, you'll find the link below. Here's what I want you to take away from this stop. Your children are not missing out. They're being raised differently. And differently when it's intentional, when it's connected, when it's built on real relationships with real people in the real world, is a gift. The next time someone asks you about socialization, you don't need to defend yourself. You just need to know what you know. And now you do. Thanks for being here for Stop 5. Every small intentional shift you make ripples outward into your kids, into your home, and your sense of self. You don't have to overhaul everything. You just have to take one honest step toward alignment. That's what we do here together. Your action before Stop 6 is to write down 3 ways your child is already connecting with the real world outside your home. They're there. You just need to see them. And if today's video resonated, please hit subscribe so you don't miss Stop 6, where we talk about what to do when it feels like too much, because it will. And when it does, I want you to have something to hold on to that isn't just push through or white knuckle your way through homeschool mom life. And if you know another mom who's concerned about this socialization question, worried that she's cheating her kids out of something, would you share this with her? It might be exactly what she needs. Until next time, tend to yourself, trust yourself, and lead your homeschool life from the inside out. You got this.